Good afternoon, I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao.
It's Wednesday, December 24th, Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everyone.
We have a special episode today. We look back at the biggest political events this year, 2025. Two of them involve a father and daughter tandem.
The impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte is one of those, and that happened in February. And then, of course, the ICC arrest of her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, happened in March. And those were two of the biggest shocks. Can I say shocks? Two of the biggest
and continuing shocks.
Milestones.
We're going to feel them way into next year.
This political year. I like to joke amongst friends na parang feeling ko I should have gotten an honorary law degree after 2025 because we started off the year talking about impeachment.
Are you a lawyer?
I'm not learned yet, but I'm learning the ins and outs of the law. Then we moved on to talking from impeachment, the ins and outs of impeachment, to talking about
The ins and outs
International
of,
Criminal Court procedures.
And the Rome Statute.
In the Rome Statute. And then we ended the year talking about yung...
then we had elections, so not to forget the elections.
That's right, May 2025
and the effect
elections.
the effect of all these things on the results of the elections, and the effect of the results of the elections on whatever is going to happen next year.
Exactly. And then we closed it off by talking about one of the biggest scandals ever, which is the flood control corruption scandal, and talking about what it would take to jail these perpetrators, right? And because the law, there's a lot of laws that criminalize activities like this, pero nahihirapan yung people, the authorities find it hard to keep people in jail because of the way we interpret the law sometimes, of the loopholes in the law.
But you know, what I think is very interesting is how the events of the last quarter of this year impacted the public impression and perception on the Dutertes.
Oh, yeah.
If you do remember, late 2024, you had this very, very controversial eruption by Sara Duterte online.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course,
The midnight video.
Yeah.
Where she was screaming and...
But now, I think that by now, most people have forgotten that. It's been buried under a ton of other things, which include a ton of gravel and cement that should have gone into flood control projects. So
I see what you did
125 million pesos in confidential funds spent in 11 days.
Pale very much in comparison to...
More than 1 trillion pesos in flood control projects.
To the billions and billions that were lost in the flood control corruption scandal. And we found out in the last half of the year just how bad it got, wherein at least 30% of project costs immediately went to lining pockets, into corruption, into...
I remember in the middle of this year, we were
wheels.
talking pa lang about yung the corruption in some hindi pa nga flood control projects in some infrastructure projects like Cat's Eyes, yung mga barriers,
reflectors,
barriers,
in-overpriced nila.
And yung mga solar lights, parang ganun kalaki ang patong.
Little did we know.
And we're not even back to that yet. We're now centered lang on flood control projects. So
exactly.
we have to go back to that too.
It was Baguio City Mayor Benji Magalong who talked to us about that, about how he had noticed that for the government projects, the pricing, the price range for these items were jacked up, right? As much as 30
levels.
to 40% above market rates. More than ba? Much more than market rates.
May sasabi siya na ang dapat 12,000 ay naging 120. That's times 10.
And you have to wonder, because we have procurement laws. And meron ding PhilGEPS, the Philippine
which was supposed to have help
portal, which was supposed to have made everything transparent, right? And anyone can go in there and see, how much is which contractor charging for what. But it's incredible that all of this remained under the radar until
I remember that was around the middle of the year. I remember that we were shocked by the numbers that we were being given, and this is way before the president in his Mahiya naman kayo speech sa SONA, and before lumabas yung mga flood control project issues. So even then, we were already shocked. Turns out that it's not yet that bad compared to what's been happening underneath our noses.
Remember so that that speech has, in fact, correctly been branded the Mahiya naman kayo SONA speech. That was President Marcos's fourth State of the Nation address. And yun nga, towards the end, he said, Mahiya naman kayo, which some House lawmakers admitted was referring to them, right? Chief of them, si Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco, who's related to President Marcos through his wife, said, kami yun. He's sa amin yung kami yung pinaparingnan ni President Marcos. Because yun nga, after he exposed the list of top 15 contractors that bagged the most number of flood control projects nationwide in the last 3 years, it started unraveling from there. Then we found out, okay, it started with the budget. It started with the 2025 budget. And even last year, as far back as last year, may issues now with the corruption, with the 2025 GAA. But I don't think we realized just how big the problem was.
With insertions in the pork, and the pork that never seems to go away.
May mga insertions, for example,
Then we're having deja vu again.
that were, well, there were two terms we learned this year. One is parking, the other is sagasa. Parking is when a lawmaker will park some insertions under another friendly lawmaker's district, and then that
Pare, makikipark ako sa
Makikipark ako sa'yo, oo. Tapos yung the recipient of that gets a cut of the money, of the funding. Yun yung parking. Yung sagasa is, I park it under someone else's district without that person knowing. And that person, that lawmaker, allegedly can't do anything about it. Right? Maybe because the dynamic is different. Maybe the person who parked it in his district is more powerful. I don't know, but it happened now. So these are terms that we learned this
Or he
year
has
as well.
other means of making money.
And he doesn't care, right? Maybe it's a wealthy lawmaker. Sabi niya, okay, park mo.
And with all these issues on the table, you have the Duterte groups bashing Bongbong Marcos and calling for his resignation, among other things. And you have the Marcos groups hitting back at the Duterte, saying that we haven't forgotten about their confidential funds. So that's what we'll have to watch out for next year. Where this is headed.
Because ultimately, and let's not forget what happened with the impeachment case, right? The Senate shelved it. What was their term?
Archived.
Archived it. That's it. So after many, many weeks of debating the issue and public clamor, the people calling on the Senate to act on the impeachment complaint filed by the House, this was then under the then Senate President Chis Escudero, who people said dribbled the case, and eventually it led to the archiving of the case of the impeachment complaint. Na challenged then sa Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court later on issued a decision.
A unanimous decision.
Unanimous decision. 13 though. 2 did not vote. 13-0, saying that the impeachment complaint was not legal, essentially.
Before not having followed the proper
Did not
procedures.
follow procedure, and it went on to add certain provisions in that decision to make impeachment harder even. So ang criticism din doon is that parang they wrote that decision for themselves, right? Because now it's become very, very hard to impeach high-ranking officials.
But that decision is under appeal, and we're waiting for the results of that appeal. We've been waiting for it since September.
4 months now, at least. Oh, since September. Kasi nag-file ng motion for reconsideration yung House. Remember...
By the time that February 7 rolls around, which is the end of the one-year ban on the one-year impeachment allowed, one impeachment complaint allowed per year, then that would be moot already in academic.
Oo. But it could, it would also set a jurisprudence if the Supreme Court were to reverse itself. Because remember, one of the crux of the issue is whether or not they got the facts right. So there was an issue over when exactly, if the House really...
If it was thrown to the plenary for a vote.
Exactly. If it was thrown to the plenary for a vote, the impeachment complaint, the fourth impeachment complaint, And
Those are technical matters. But you also have what you were talking about a while ago, that there were several new requirements put in place by the Supreme Court decision. Among them, for example, that each and every lawmaker must have had a copy of the full complaint and including the responses of the accused. And sufficient time to peruse all these documents with which to make a decision. Of course, that's not in the Constitution, but this is jurisprudence if it is affirmed and if it is, well, basically if it's affirmed.
if it's finalized, because yun na nga, we're waiting on the decision. And what some of the analysts have said to us is that maybe they don't reverse themselves. Maybe they don't change their minds about the impeachment
Maybe
of
they
Vice
just ignore it.
But
That also happens.
at
They just
the
ignore
very,
that.
they could also just ignore the MR by the House, or they could leave the decision as is, pero tanggalin yung extra provisions against impeachment. That could also be a good compromise. Remember, that's what Ronald, our resident pundit, was saying to us.
Even they put in new requirements and then they'll say, we made a mistake with the new requirements.
But that's a good
That's different from
No.
saying that we misappreciated
The facts of the case.
the evidence that you put forth.
Yes.
That's different from this is our new demands. That's different. Those are two completely different things. One is passive. One comes from the stakeholders.
Yes.
The other one comes from you.
Yes, but for them to say we misappreciated the facts of the case, the evidence presented to us, that's saying a lot. That's also going to take a.
It's not going to be as bad as we made a mistake requiring this from you.
No, it could be okay. We'll take out the provisions in view of the the public outrage over it, and then but we're standing by our decision, right? I don't know. They could frame it that way, but. We're not learned enough
let me
to
quote
say.
my favorite political pundit. Lubos ka na ng kuweba. A lot to
Nasa
watch out
Cueva
for.
pa rin, 2025 had
A lot to
so
watch out
much.
for in the next few weeks going to 2026 with the Dutertes, with the Marcoses, the Marcoses in plural because you have the sister and the brother.
And the very public feud that they waged against each other.
And the other families, meaning the dynasties, because we have a new element already involved in this. Suddenly you have a glimmer of hope, just a glimmer, that maybe
An anti-political dynasty bill might get passed.
maybe in what form we don't know yet, but there's a chance that it will be passed.
There's a chance because we are at a pivotal moment in time kasi nga galit na yung mga tao
We always
at the
say that.
scale of the corruption. No, but have you seen corruption of this scale?
We said the same thing in 2012, 2013. Have you ever seen corruption of this scale? 10 billion pesos. Grabe itong mga buhaya kayo.
Ngayon, 10 billion, isang district lang.
We said the same things. We were all shocked. We all marched to
Remember-
Luneta, and we all made kalampag, and then we went back to what we were doing before.
Yeah, but the scale of this, that's 10
the same
times
thing,
that.
That's the same thing we said
That's
then.
10 times that.
That's the same thing you said then. We couldn't imagine 10 billion.
We couldn't imagine 10 billion.
Because, to begin with, ang PDAF ng senators are 200 million, yung PDAF ng congressman is 70 million. So, they're really small. And even then, it's hard to count beyond 999,000.
Oh. Yung calculator mo. Lagpas na.
So, the trigger point keeps getting
But see-
higher and higher.
But something has to give at some point.
That's what we like to say.
I know. We like to say Filipinos are resilient, and we'll
don't like to say that.
we'll cop a lot of flack and cop a lot of bad governance. But at some point, there has to be a ceiling. Something has to give, right? But in
You're
any
talking
case,
about has to.
but I don't know if it will. But in any case, yung anti-political dynasty bill at the moment, from what we can see, yung version that might get passed
The
is the
speaker's
one
version.
is the speaker's version, the one that was filed by Speaker Boji T.
Which allows for both vertical and horizontal dynasties, actually, when you think about it. Vertical in the sense that the president can have relatives going
in
down the
different
line.
levels of government.
President, possibly Congress, possibly
Senate.
governor,
Yes, provincial.
mayor and barangay. So you can have the president with relatives down the line. Horizontal because when you speak of different jurisdictions, they can have relatives there. The provincial governor of province A can be the brother, sister, kamag-anak of provincial governor of province B because they're different provinces. And the same goes with cities.
It caps the relations to fourth degree of consanguinity, which is medyo malayo na. There was a bill
First
before.
cousin, tito,
Yes.
tita.
There was a
and
bill before capping it at
Okay.
second degree of consanguinity, which I guess a lot of people balked at. And then also the big issue with this version of the political dynasty bill is it's silent on succession or rotation or swapping of seats, right? Which is prevalent, which is rampant at this even now, even to this day.
What Professor Ronald Mendoza likes to call the thin dynasty, where you have succession going down the line, parang nagpapasapsahan yung isang posisyon versus yung kumakalat kayo fat-wise.
Obese na nga yung dynasties dito, di ba? Hindi na fat.
Obese tsaka matangkad.
They're obese.
Obese tsaka matangkad.
Vertical matangkad.
Okay, well, we go back to this year's discussions on the Dutertes. Please watch this. The biggest and I suppose only story we're watching this Wednesday, February 5. The House of Representatives has impeached VP Sara Duterte. 215 to 15 congressmen voted to oust Duterte. That's more than double the number required by the Constitution of 1/3. The case will now be transmitted to the Senate, or the complaint will be transmitted to the Senate. And Congressman Paulo Duterte condemns the impeachment case against the VP. Duterte called it, and we quote, politically motivated and baseless. He also warned that the Marcos administration was risking greater public backlash, citing over 1 million supporters of the Iglesia ni Cristo who rallied against the move. And joining us today, Storycon's resident political pundit, Tito Raul Llamas, who is somewhere in Quezon City. I will not divulge where, but he seems to have an unusual glow for today, February 5. I wonder kung ano, bakit yan? Nagpa-facial ka ba o ano?
Tissue lang, tissue.
Tissue lang. No. Itong isa, hindi kailangan ng tissue. Hindi kailangan ng facial. From the Philippine Star, si Miss Ami Pamintua ng Editor-in-Chief ng Star sa Parañaque City. Ami!
Happy Wednesday. Happy si Ronald
Wednesday.
kasi di pa sinabi kahapon yung scoop sana yan, no? Di pa sinabi, kinukulit na kahapon eh. Ayaw pa magsalita eh.
Hindi naman yung pwedeng sabihin kasi ongoing pa lang. Ikaw naman, oh.
Oo, hindi mabilat. Ang hulaan lang naman ko ilan yung pipirma eh. Oh.
Trabaho lang, trabaho
Ang taas ha, 215 ha, ang dami ha.
Pero
Dami.
naabot na,
Ang chief complainant is the son of President Marcos. That's so significant ha.
siya yung number 1 sa pumirma. Number 1.
Siya yung top complainant.
That gives you an
Remember,
indication.
siya din ang nagpatanggal. Di ba? Siya rin ang nagpatanggal unceremoniously kay Saldico. Doon.
Mahirap sabihin na Ami kahapon dahil pampalan tayo 4 to 5 eh. Naabot yung 1/3 nung gabi pa eh.
Ganun
Ayun naman
ba?
pala. Ayun naman pala.
Sana sinabi mo, ongoing na yung process. Kasi hinihintay ng lahat.
Trabaho ng Philippine Star parang i-research.
Hindi nga namin mabilang kung ilan. Ang tagal-tagal na niya nagpapapirma, di ba? Saka ang pinapirmahan yung fourth, yung fourth
Ami,
complaint.
Ang signing kahapon lang nagsimula. Yung mga signing
Hindi kasi yung fourth complaint eh.
Oo.
Yung fourth complaint,
signing
diba?
dati, kwan yun. Propaganda lang yun. No?
Ganun ba? Propaganda mo yun.
Yung tunay na signing, nangyari lang kahapon. Dahil yung pinipirmahan is the fourth impeachment complaint.
Yes.
Okay, but
And
Tito,
the fourth complaint is a consolidation of the 3 complaints. Yan.
pero Tito Ronald, okay, the first signatory is Sandro Marcos. Pero sino
Sandro
yung
Marcos.
principal complainant? Who filed the complaint?
Malay ko.
Tanungin mo yung reporter.
Malay ko, wala
Reporter
akong
natin.
ginagawa yan.
Grabing sagot mo, malay ko.
Malay ko, hindi ako yung nag-file.
Akala ko ikaw yung international man of mystery, dapat alam yung mga ganung bagay. Kasi when we say that Sandro Marcos was the first to sign, that could mean he was the one who endorsed. Or it could also mean that he was the one who drafted
kung
it.
sino man ang nag-endorse, ang mahalaga, no? And this is not lost on Ami as editor of the Philippine Star. This had the blessing of the president.
Of the Marcos. Marcos
Yun ang
says.
klaro, di ba? Yung
Marcos.
nagsabi na ayaw ng impeachment last year ay either nagbago yung isip or from the very start, iba ang iniisip.
Yeah, but
Hindi, ang
kasi
description sa amin, Ed, top complainant siya. Si Sandro.
Kasi may nuancing
Top
yun, Bok, eh.
complainant.
May nuancing kung ikaw yung
Yes. Nag-endorse.
Nag-endorse o ikaw yung if you already gave the backing from the palace versus ikaw mismo ang nagsampa o nag-draft. Of course, they're in the same direction pero iba yung dating pag sinabi mong ikaw talaga nagreklamo.
Hindi ko alam yung ibig sabihin ng ikaw yung complainant. Dahil usually, ang kongresista ay endorser.
Yes.
Hindi siya yung complainant. No?
Yeah, but
Kaya hindi ko
congressman can
alam
also
kung ano
complain.
yung ibig sabihin ng complainant si Sandro.
Yeah, but when in
Pwede,
Constitution
siya
kasi
yung
congressman can
nag-endorse.
also file a
Pero
complaint.
yung complainant, medyo weird yun.
Okay, so that's one. The other question, of course, is what's the word from Malacanang as to why the sudden change of heart? Assuming that there even was a change of heart to begin with, at hindi lang smoke screen yung past few weeks.
Pero hindi ba, Ed,
President
nag-issue
had
din ng
nothing to
statement
do
ang
with
Malacanang recently? Di ba recently din nagsalita sila na na it's up to Congress? Meron din ganun Recently lang yon.
Yeah,
Meron na nga yun
Presidente nagsalita 3 days ago na wala siyang magagawa dun sa impeachment pag nagsimula na sa Kongreso. It's a soft backpedaling from his statement last year.
yeah. Pero
Diba, last year hanggang early this year, ang statement niya ay tingin niya wala ng panahon, siya ay hindi nagbabago ng posisyon sa impeachment, natutol siya, pero 3 days ago, medyo nag-soften. Wala siyang magagawa pag nagsimula na yung proseso ng impeachment sa House.
yeah. Well,
So, reading between the lines, parang may kaunting blessing.
hindi kaunting blessing pag yung anak mo yung yung
Oo nga Marcos siya na ganun.
3 days ago.
Marcos yung top complainant
I meant 3 days ago, yung
Yeah.
kanyang statement. No? Hindi yun nangyari ngayon.
O kaya
Yung
nga,
statement niya 3 days ago, parang soft endorsement.
So meron nga there's been a shift in the sands of time. O di ba?
Napaka-poetic.
Baka naman original talaga yon. Di ba yan ang speculation from the start naman
Yeah, that or it was all smoke screens until
From the start naman. Actually,
Ipag-usapan natin yan dito, Ami, that perhaps yung isang kamay, iba ang sinasabi o ginagawa, pero iba rin yung ginagawa ng kabilang kamay. Diba? Napag-usapan natin yan several times dito sa Storycon.
Well,
Kaya nga, kasi ang direct na kaaway ni Sara before si Speaker Romualdez pero ngayon head-on na sila with Marcos So, pwede nga mag-iiba yun, di ba?
Pwede rin, Ami, na yung rally ng iglesia ay ginawa yung opposite.
it hardened
Diba nagalit si
positions.
Enrile? Diba? Nagalit si Enrile na bad president ito. Parang binablockmail nyo naman kami. Diba? Yun yung statement niya. Na sigurado ko may blessing ng presidente yung statement. Dahil chief legal advisor ka So perhaps yung ginawa ng iglesia had a negative impact doon sa impeachment. Dahil nung wala yung rally, mini-maintain ng presidente na ayaw niya ng impeachment. Nung nangyari yung rally, parang nagsimulang magbago yung posisyon ng Malacanang tungkol sa impeachment.
Pero significant nga yun, na yun ang naging reaction dun sa INC rally.
Yes.
Diba? That's significant kasi 215 members of the House of Representatives went along with Sandro Marcos. Di ba?
Hindi lang
Malaking
actually,
bagay yun. It
200
says a lot. ibig sabihin, yung ganyang mga rally, kayang i-downplay yung political impact, lalo na dyan sa mga natin, kongresista. And especially with the elections approaching, na ginawa nila yan, it's significant. Di ba?
Actually, Ami, 218 na eh. Hindi ko alam kung
hinihintay nga namin.
titigil ba yung bilangan or magpapatuloy siya, no? Bago i-transmit. Pero kung siya, increasing by the minute yung mga boto.
Hinihintay nga namin yung final saka yung final list. Hinihintay namin. Baka matira na lang dyan sila Marcoleta, who is a member of course of the INC. And yung mga nagsalita na, di ba? Mga nagsalita na Meron namang mga ilang nag-suporta. But actually, Ronald, ang balita namin from the start hindi naman talaga ganun ka-close. Etong si Bongbong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., hindi siya ganun ka-close sa INC.
Unlike the father.
Unlike the father.
Tama.
From the start to ng yun ang balita namin. Na maraming hindi na pagbibigyan. In fact, kaya nga ganun na suporta sa mga Duterte ng INC.
Tsaka isa pang variable, Ami, Ed, I think around 80% ng mga tumatakbo ngayon sa Congress ay wala naman talagang kalaban. So, ibig sabihin, hindi sila mape-pressure ng INC na crucial yung support kung tight yung labanan. Diba? Kung tight yung labanan, yan, magpa-factor in yung kanilang support or non-support. Pero kung 80% ng kandidato ay wala namang kalaban or sobrang hina ng kalaban, then that pressure ay wala masyado.
Siguro inisip din nila yung mga surveys, Kasi yung surveys actually are a more accurate gauge of public pulse. At dun sa survey, mataas yung support for the impeachment of the Vice President. Di ba? Kaysa sa warm bodies, kasi kung warm bodies yan bakit yung walang Catholic vote, pero yung mga parada ng mga religious, katakot-takot, milyon-milyon talaga. Bakit ganon? Di ba? Siguro kung titingnan yung mga issues, mas makikita yung kung saan papunta yung public opinion.
At inuulit ko, the vast majority of people hindi naman sumasama sa mga rally.
Yes.
Katulad
lalo
ni
nga mainit
Katulad ni Ed Lingao.
Mainit
Bok,
Sabi ng January this year, the hottest January in recorded history. Yan, mainit.
Oo, grabe yung last Friday, yung rallies. Ang init.
Kaya nga.
Sobrang init. Actually, nabalitaan ko lang.
Bok, may reaction na si VP Sara. I think this came from Bill Montalvo. Tinawagan niya. Mukhang medyo late na nalaman ni VP Sara yung nangyari. Kasi mahirap, ito, and we quote, kasi mahirap ako mag-react pag hindi ko pa nabasa kasi kung ano sinabi nila. Gusto ko mabasa kung ano yung statement nila sa House. Pero gusto kong mabasa kung statement which is wala pa naman, di ba? So paano tayo magko-comment? Wala naman silang official statement. Puro lang yung nasa news. So, yun, she's being very, very careful. Mahirap mag-react kung hindi natin nababasa kung ano yung official statement nila. Baka masobran o magkulang yung reaction, so kailangan natin antayin.
Sana pinanood niyo yung Storycon kahapon.
Talaga abogado, no? Cool, hindi ka nga nagsalita kahapon.
Nagpahiwatig lang. Nagpahiwatig lang.
Although hindi matagal na sinasabi ng Duterte camp. They were expecting kahit hindi natuloy yung fast track noong December, tuloy-tuloy naman consistent sila sinasabi nila. They were expecting the impeachment na matutuloy pa rin.
Even though at one point we're already wondering kung matutuloy pa o hindi Remember that?
Sila sinasabi nila
at one point we were wondering,
matutuloy in the first quarter. Sinasabi nila yon.
ER,
First
ICU,
2025.
bumalik ulit sa ER. Diba?
Oo nga
Sabi natin last December, Ed, nasa ER, tapos pumasok ng ICU, pero bumalik ulit sa ER.
Well, Tito Ronald, this is only one phase of the hurdle that will have to be faced in the impeachment process. The impeachment, of course.
Of course.
Well, para sa mga hindi masyadong familiar, itong impeachment ay para lamang yung kumbaga sa piskal,
Indictment.
nagsampa pala may finding ng probable cause, nagsampa pala ng kaso ang piskal. ng reklamo. So parang pagsasampa pala ng reklamo ng piskal yan. Hindi pa yan conviction.
May nagbago! May arte! May budget! Akala nyo lang yon. So solid! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya! May glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! May puti power times 2 kasi may papaya at niacinamide. May shea butter and tea tree oil pa. Kutis sulit ang glow up! Glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! Kutis sulit ang glow up!
Ako po si Gretchen Ho, ang inyong woman in action!
Mararating mo rin.
Tanggaling-galing mo! Smart dishwashing paste ko! Pritong ulam na masebo, plato o kaldero. Tanggaling for everyday.
Ganyan, pag smart ang dishwashing paste, may double tanggaling formula. Tanggal ang sebo, tanggal ang bakterya.
Pahit para walang pahit, linis fantastic sa metal at plastic. Number 1 ko to! Tanggaling-galing mo! Smart dishwashing paste. ACS.
Get your daily dose of sports updates on Starting Lineup. Mondays to Fridays, 6:30 p.m. live on Pilipinas Live app and One News. Also available on One Sports and One Sports Plus.
May nagbago! May arte! May budget! Akala nyo lang yon. So solid! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya! May glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! May puti power times 2 kasi may papaya at niacinamide. May shea butter and tea tree oil pa. Kutis sulit ang glow up! Glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! Kutis sulit ang glow up!
Some news give you one side of the story. Others tell you the other side only. We give you the full picture and let you decide. One News. All sides, all the time.
Tanggaling-galing mo! Smart dishwashing paste ko! Pritong ulam na masebo, plato o kaldero. Tanggaling for everyday.
Ganyan, pag smart ang dishwashing paste, may double tanggaling formula. Tanggal ang sebo, tanggal ang bakterya.
Pahit para walang pahit, linis fantastic sa metal at plastic. Number 1 ko to! Tanggaling-galing mo! Smart dishwashing paste. ACS.
More than 7,600 islands, filled with flora and fauna, inhabited by more than 100 million people, all in one archipelago. But how did it all begin?
May nagbago! May arte! May budget! Akala nyo lang yon. So solid! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya! May glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! May puti power times 2 kasi may papaya at niacinamide. May shea butter and tea tree oil pa. Kutis sulit ang glow up! Glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! Kutis sulit ang glow up!
Join us. Go back in time, long before the era of gas and the electric stove, when food was cooked with clay pots, woks, and firewood, in the kitchen that we call in Bisaya as a buhan. Experience the old ways and even learn the how-tos of cooking your favorite Filipino dishes with chefs J. Resio and J.R. Bautista inside the Abuhan here on Signal.
May nagbago! May arte! May budget! Akala nyo lang yon. So solid! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya, wow! White rose! White rose papaya! May glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! May puti power times 2 kasi may papaya at niacinamide. May shea butter and tea tree oil pa. Kutis sulit ang glow up! Glow up with the white rose papaya! White rose papaya! Kutis sulit ang glow up! ACS.
We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lane. We are continuing our special episode with two of this year's biggest political stories, the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte and the arrest of her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, of course, by the ICC. Watch this.
Sorry, it's an early Star Conference, a special coverage of One News regarding today's
Big breaking
activities.
news of former President Rodrigo Duterte being arrested.
Okay, let's bring in our first report for today for the show. It's Merrimon Reyes reporting to us live from, I believe, Villamor Air Base in Pasay City. Merrimon is still pending. Anyway, let's do a quick recap siguro muna of what has happened so far. Oh, okay.
Madaling... Oh, do we
Merrimon,
have...
are you here?
I think we have her.
Merrimon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Asan ka ngayon?
Nandito ako ngayon sa labas ng Villamor Air Base kung saan sa ngayon wala pang ibang nagaganap. Kasi umalis na rin dito ang ilan sa mga kaalyansa ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte na sina Atty. Israel Torion, Atty. Vic Rodriguez, ang aktor na si Philip Salvador, and even itong si Senator Bongo. Kaya so far, naka-standby kami dito, mga members ng press, and even yung mga supporters mula sa Duterte Youth Party List at yung iba pa na tanyag lang naman daw na sinusuportahan at inaabangan yung paglaya ng dating Pangulo.
Merrimon, do we know where they went? Kasi we just nakausap natin si former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque just a few minutes ago, just via text. And he said that they are filing something today. We don't know yet what. Pero yung mga nakaalis na, do you know where they went?
Ms. Reg, kanina kasi supposedly itong senator ni Israel Torion is ina-expect nila or inaasahan nila na makakapasok din sila dito sa Villamor. Pero after ilang minutes ng pakikipag-usap dito sa gate, hindi rin sila pinapasok at agad silang sumakay sa kanilang sasakyan at umalis. Nung tinanong natin sila ng mabilisan ng ambush interview kung ano yung sunod nilang gagawin, saan sila pupunta, hindi nila tayo binigyan ng kumpirmasyon. Pero ilan sa mga inaabangan natin na potential na next locations ng grupo nga nito o panic ni Duterte, pwedeng makikita natin siya, sundin natin siya sa Krame, sa Cardinal Santos Medical Center, and even titingnan din natin yung possibility na baka mapunta rin sa Veterans Memorial Medical Center nung si Duterte. Dahil nasabi ka rin na ni Atty. Silvestre Bello na base sa sinabi sa kanyang informasyon ni dating General Alex Polo Monte Aguda, dadalhin din daw o posibleng madala rin sa veterans itong si Duterte. Pero kanina naman sinagawa din yung check-up, tinignan yung blood pressure ng dating Pangulo at so far wala naman tayong nakuhang informasyon kung meron pang alerto sa sitwasyon o kondisyon ni Duterte.
May idea ba tayo, Merrimon, kung bakit nandyan pa rin si dating Pangulo Duterte? Why Villamor Air Base? Why not, for example, Veterans Memorial or one of the...
PNP facility.
Even the PNP has its own hospital facility.
According kay Philippine Air Force spokesperson Colonel Maria Consuelo Castillo, hindi naman na raw unusual yung detention ni Duterte dito sa Villamor Air Base. Hindi normal lang daw na gamitin itong secured-based facilities para sa arrival or departure point for air movement ng certain important personalities. So bukod doon sa security purposes at pag-hold sa kanya dito sa Villamor Air Base, titingnan din natin kung magkakaroon ba ng possibility na may iba bang pupuntahan, magkakaroon ba ng chartered flight, possibly kung sa Netherlands ba, kung dediretso ba itong si Duterte, o mananatili lang muna talaga siya dito hanggang sa mga susunod na oras.
Do we know exactly which room he's being held in, Merrimon, and sino yung kasama niya inside the room?
So far, pagdating doon sa kwarto, mukhang VIP room ito sa loob ng Villamor Air Base. At base sa mga nakikita rin natin online, ilan sa mga kasama dito ni Duterte, bukod kanila Medial Dea, ay itong ang kanyang anak na si Kitty Duterte. No signs of VP Sara Duterte whatsoever. And yung ilan sa mga kaalyado nga ni Duterte, sila Senator Bongo, wala nga pagkakataon o hindi nakuha yung pagkakataon na makapasok at mapuntahan ng personal itong si Duterte.
Balik ko lang yung sinabi mo kanina about the reason why Duterte is being kept in Villamor. Are we saying that this is a transition point for the former president because he's going to be taken out of the country na? I asked it kasi I've also seen other opinions from other lawyers that state that yung proseso medyo mahaba-haba pa, hindi yan bigla-biglaan na basta in one day.
Yes, Sir Ed. Actually, isa pa sa tinitingnan dito ng panig ni Nanay Duterte, base sa sinabi niyang kanyang mga legal counsel na sina Bello, gusto pa raw nilang ma-verify kung totoo ba itong warrant of arrest na inain daw kay Duterte. Even if merong confirmation mula sa Presidential Communications Office tungkol dito sa warrant, sabi nila wala pa rin daw silang nakikita na warrant of arrest. So ilan sa kanila tinitingnan nila na posible raw na illegal o violation daw sa karapatang pantao ng dating Pangulo yung pag-hold custody sa kanya dito nang hindi pa raw nakikita yung warrant of arrest. Pero base rin sa sinabi ng ICC Assistant to Counsel na si Attorney Cristina Conti, supposedly kapag arestado ang isang tao under warrant of arrest ng ICC, ay dapat ito turn over na ito sa law enforcement officer ng isang member state and supposedly to be flown sa Hague o sa Netherlands ASAP. Pero since nandito pa tayo ngayon at ito nga sila Attorney Zaydi Totorion ay may ginagawa ngayon na legal move, kasama na dito yung possibility na paghingi nila ng hospital detention dahil nga kung sakaling ma-detain daw itong si Duterte, titignan pa natin sa mga susunod na oras ang development kung sino na nga ba ang sunod na mag-hold custody dito kay Duterte.
Okay.
Who is the lead counsel here, Marymon? Because there are a lot of names that are coming up now. So we know si Attorney Martin Delgra formerly of LTFRB, for instance, is counsel officially. Tapos na-mention mo si former Secretary Bello. Si former spokesperson Attorney Harry Roque, I think, is also part of the legal team. Pero hindi klaro at this point sino talaga yung lead counsel and who's leading the legal defense of former President Duterte.
Yes, Ms. Rich, dito kasi ngayon ang mga nakakausap natin ay sina Attorney Zaydi Totorion, si Attorney Silvestre Bello. So far sa kanila tayo nakakakuha ng impormasyon. Pagka tinatanong din natin sila kung ano yung sitwasyon sa loob, ang nasasabi nila, hindi pa raw nila nakakausap ng maayos o malinaw pa itong sina Attorney Amedy Aldea. Kaya hindi rin daw nila maisagot kung ano nga ba yung estado, yung status ni Pangulong Duterte sa loob. Pero so far sila itong mga tumatayong legal counsels ng dating Pangulo.
Okay. Bok, balikan ko lang yung sinasabi mo kanina dun sa panig ni Duterte, mga abogado, they're questioning what? They're questioning the jurisdiction or they're questioning why an arrest warrant has not been physically served on the former president? Because those are two separate things. One is kung pinakitaan na nga siya ng arrest warrant, which could be done very easily naman, or number two, whether or not the ICC still has jurisdiction over the Philippines.
Yes, Sir Eddie. Kasama dyan, isa rin sa kine-question nila, lalo-lalo na doon sa pinost din na video ng anak ni Pangulong Duterte na si Kitty, kine-question daw kung ano ba yung na-commit na crime ni dating Pangulong Duterte. Kung ano raw yung legal basis ng pagkaka-aresto sa kanya. Kasi nga base sinabi ng kanyang legal counsel, wala pa raw silang natatanggap na warrant of arrest, even if meron ng confirmation mula sa POC. Same goes din doon sa jurisdiction kung dapat daw bang ibigay ng kanilang panig itong kustodiya ni Duterte sa ICC dahil nga sinasabi nga ng Administrasyong Marcos hindi naman daw nila hayaan na mag-take control ang ICC pagdating dito sa jurisdiction sa kaso ni Duterte.
Reg, kasi it's interesting that we have an extradition law. It's a presidential decree of 1977 that provides for the procedure, the process in extradition. In this actually is an extradition. It's extradition. If you look at the Interpol website, the Interpol is the one that
Pero hindi ba dapat he has to be turned over to a custodial state first? And in this case, the custodial state is the Philippines.
It's the Philippines.
So yun yung question at this point. Is he under custodial state, getting prepared to be extradited?
Yeah.
Or
that's where we are now. He's now under the custody of course, the Philippine government. So the next question is whether or not he will be deported immediately to The Hague, as is being sought by, for example, Attorney Conti, or whether or not there will be a long-drawn process. Which would involve going to court. Kasi under the extradition
they
law,
could challenge it.
But under the extradition law of 1977, the Philippine government will have to file a petition with the RTC for extradition. That has to be approved first by the RTC before it can be extradited.
Regarding your question on what they're challenging, they've answered it. The Duterte allies have answered it. For instance, Secretary Panelo has said it's unlawful. The PNP did not allow one of his lawyers to meet him at the airport, and it's an illegal arrest because ICC has no jurisdiction. Kumbaga, they are challenging both fronts. They are saying na hindi na-serban ng arrest warrant. They are also saying that wala din jurisdiction in the first place. So it seems like the
Both
defense
cases
is both...
will likely end up in Supreme Court.
Correct. So both, it seems like they are challenging on both fronts. If you follow the statements of the other Duterte family members and the other Duterte allies, more or less along those lines din eh. We know, for instance, that Veronica Kitty Duterte posted on Instagram stories as well, saying that it's illegal detention, no warrant of arrest. Si Baste Duterte, Mayor Baste Duterte of Davao, also has issued a statement saying they are insisting that PRRD get on a plane to who knows where using an ICC warrant, which does not have jurisdiction in this country. Clowns behaving like clowns again. This has to end. Bongbong Marcos admin is fantasizing that this scenario would materialize, hoping that the issue on the national budget would just go away. The smell of desperation. End quote. Again, that was a statement from Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte. So again, it comes back to the point that they are challenging both the jurisdiction as well as the fact that hindi na-serve ng arrest warrant. Although, as Mary Mon said, the Philippine Presidential Communications Office has already said that madaling araw, tanggap ng Interpol Philippines yung arrest warrant, and then when former President Duterte arrived at 9:20 this morning, that it was served to him.
But I would imagine the first thing that they would that they would want to do, and that they would want to stop, is his physical extradition today. In other words, kasi pag may labas mo na yan sa bansa, mas mahirap na habulin yan as far as they're concerned. So I can imagine that's the first thing that they're trying to stop, that he not be flown out today. And we're joined by Tito Ral Llamas,
who has been very, very busy today.
Our political pundit.
Pinapakinggan ko kayo kanina pero ang usapin kasi rito is out of the box. No? Yung mga pinag-uusapan natin kanina doesn't hold. Dahil ito is a special operations.
Because we're not party to the Rome Statute anymore.
Hindi. Dinala siya sa Villamor para ilabas ng alas 5 ng hapon mamaya. No? At kahit mag-file sila ng mga kaso, matatraffic yan. No, matatraffic yan. Hindi yan may implement.
Legal traffic.
Matatraffic yan. Hindi lang. Halimbawa, pagpalagay mo lang may nakuha sila, papunta sa Villamor, matraffic eh. So, ilalabas na ng bansa yan, at kung anumang kaso yung hahabulin nila, will be mooted academic.
Okay.
Dahil nailabas na eh.
So that's the plan.
Saan ka magsasampa ng kaso? Sa ICC, yung people power na pinaplano kagabi pa, no? Kaya nga may mga tumawag kay Digong kagabi para pigilan siya na umuwi muna hanggang hindi na handa yung people power na inaasahan ay hindi naman sumunod si Digong.
Okay, wait, we'll come back to that. First, we have to let Mary Mon Reyes go. Mary Mon, thank you so much for your report. And then at this point, bring in
our next guest, si former Senator Lala de Lima. Ma'am, magandang hapon and thank you for joining us.
Magandang hapon, Ed, Ronald, and who else is there, please?
Ma'am, si Reg. Si Regina Ray.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Regina, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Magandang hapon, Idol.
Thank you for joining us po.
Magandang hapon.
Ma'am, sorry, we need to start off on with a legal question, but please also break it down for us in layman's terms. Kasi there's this big debate as to whether or not somebody who is being extradited should undergo a process first here in the Philippines, or can he already be taken out of the country and, for example, brought to The Hague?
Of course.
Okay, kasi ang alam natin at this point, di ba, may warrant of arrest,
yes,
okay, from the ICC. And then pinadaan sa Interpol. And then the Interpol, in turn, referred it to the Philippine government. That's very apparent from the fact na yung nag-arrest sa kanya ay yung PNP, and per news reports, accompanied by Interpol agents or Interpol officers. I'm just basing this from reports so far, no? So, proseso ay nasunod. Now, depende na rin yan if there are other intermediate steps na usually being undertaken by Interpol kapag meron ganyan na mga referral sa kanila for implementation. Kasi, the lawyers of Mr. Duterte, I'm sure, are thinking now of certain remedies. Kaya hindi may iwasan na merong mga intermediate steps muna or developments. But then, ang malinaw talaga ay arestado na siya.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And then ang ang question is would custody stay with the Philippines as the custodial state? Kasi kung ganon, so dapat ilagay na muna siya sa kung anumang dapat na facility para sa kanya.
Yes, ma'am.
While waiting for other developments, like for example, kasi kailangan magre-return ng warrant.
Opo.
Kasi yung pagre-return ng warrant, yes, go ahead.
Senator, sabi kasi nung kabilang kampo, kinakailangan ng warrant from a local court. Hindi sapat yung warrant ng ICC. Whether that is true or not, baka magiging moot and academic na yan kung siya ay nailipad na at nadala na sa The Hague. So maraming... ito ay hindi simpleng legal this or legal that. No? Tingin ko yung ginagawa ngayon is out of the box. No? Pwede na maghugas kamay dyan yung gobyerno. Wala kami kinalaman dyan eh. No? Wala namang restraining order sa Supreme Court o any courts. So, mamayang alas 5, lipad na siya. So,
alas 5 talaga, ha?
Narinig ko lang. Sa isang bubuit.
Kasi nga, although yun, yung is that may warrant of arrest from an international court. So it was served on him or inaresto siya in compliance with that warrant of arrest. And then may yung pwedeng mag-return ng warrant.
Yes, ma'am.
Pwedeng sa local court o pwede rin sa ICC na mismo sa The Hague. Pero it doesn't mean maghihintay pa ng warrant of arrest from a local court.
Yes, sir. Ma'am,
Kasi meron...
Ma'am, if I may, ma'am, kasi given na po na may arrest warrant na ang ICC, that much is clear naman eh. I mean, we've also seen the warrant na rin eh. But my question po has to do with this eh. I understand po this is still extradition. Technically, it still is extradition even if it's ICC and Interpol. But we also have this extradition law, PD 1069, which also states that in cases of extradition, before you can fly somebody out, it has to be approved by a court, I think the RTC, and that can be appealed with the Court of Appeals. So that would sound like it's a more long drawn out process than some would like to believe na pwede siyang ilipad ASAP. Ano po, what really is the case here? I mean, you were Justice Secretary before.
Yeah. Okay, kasi well, hindi talaga maiiwasan na this is considered also like an extradition case. Kasi yung mga other cases na dumadaan talaga sa Interpol ay ganon, yung talagang out and out na mga extradition. Now, this particular, this situation, ICC, iba ang jurisdiction yan, although may pagka, similar to extradition, is that this is of different, this of different kind. Na, yung iba yung special jurisdiction ng ICC. So, we cannot really categorically say na kailangan dumaan muna ng formal sa extradition process. Pwede rin, pwedeng hindi. Kasi nga, this is something, that's not really, the ICC did not ask for extradition. And I don't know what, we are not sure yet, what Interpol asked exactly from the Philippine authorities. Although there are cases na this is treated talaga as extradition. Kaya yun, mas malinaw yun. Na meron munang proseso dito sa local authorities and local courts natin. But this is ICC. So, really, I cannot really state any categorical position on that matter. Kasi ang tinitingnan ko lang, yung special jurisdiction ng ICC. Kung yung tinatawag natin sa Senate as an impeachment court, is sui generis. During ICC, ganun din eh.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the very first time that we are facing this.
Ma'am, if I may interject po kasi I'm reading now the Interpol website about the red notices. And the Interpol website says, a red notice is a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending extradition, surrender, or similar legal action. So I don't know po. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it sounds like extradition to me.
Well, if that is what is stated in the Interpol, then pwede rin ganon. Because that is the usual process that they do in case may mga requests for assistance but I'm not very sure now about really what is the real procedure pag sa ICC. Ang alam ko, yung custodial state tayo eh. Tayo
correct.
yung may custody ngayon. So, mag-aano muna yan eh. Yung ang ano nga dyan is make a return to a local court. But it doesn't mean maghihintay pa ng another warrant.
Yeah.
Again, Senator Laila, Idol Laila,
Yes.
no? Bilang mga Pilipino, we can continue to split hairs over the legalities of this arrest. Pero ang sinasabi ko lang, this is out of the box. By 5 p.m., ililipad na siya, papunta ng Den Haag. Balita ko lang, no? So magiging moot and academic na yung ating pinag-uusapan, no? Dahil yung logical kasi na ginawa ni Digong yesterday ay manatili muna sa Hong Kong habang hinahanda ng kanyang mga supporters yung political climate para sa kanyang pagbabalik.
Correct.
Pero hindi niya ginawa yon, bumalik siya ng hindi handa at in-underestimate niya yung kanyang mga kalaban. Akala niya dadalhin siya sa krame na sinabi kanina, yung pala diversionary na yun, pero
So,
diniretso siya sa Villamor at mula sa Villamor ay ililipad na siya. John, pwede tayo magpustahan.
Is that confirmed? Kasi kahapon sabi mo...
Wala namang confirm, hindi naman ako sa gobyerno eh. Ako yung,
No, because kahapon sabi mo hindi siya babalik. But he came back. He came back.
Dahil yun ang logical. Kaya tingnan mo ngayon yung kanyang kalagayan.
All right, join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
I'm Edwin Gao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time. Enjoy the holidays.
Wake up to great conversations with Gretchen Ho. She delivers the news that starts your day right. The biggest stories, engaging conversations, and vital context that explains why they matter to you.
Breaking down the news, cutting through the noise, bringing you what matters most. This is Morning Matters.
Weekdays at 8 a.m. only on One News.
Person to go to for entertainment and fun and analysis. Attorney Edward Chico.
Laging sinasabi ng asawa ko, alam mo Ed, bakit lagi mong niloloko yung mga politiko? Ba't hindi ko naman sila loloko? Sila nga, niloloko tayo. So anything you say can actually offend some people. Comedy is truth without violence. Ang maganda lang sa mga DDS, gustong-gusto ko na magjo-joke sa kanila. Kasi hindi sila napipikon o baka hindi gets. There should always be room for comedy to provide sanity, to provide relief, to provide an opportunity where we can actually find